Petra were inhabited since prehistoric times. This Nabatean caravan city, situated between the Red Sea and the Dead Sea, was an important crossroads between Arabia, Egypt and Syrophoenicia. Petra is half-built, half-carved into the rock, and is surrounded by mountains riddled with passages and gorges. It is one of the world's most famous archaeological sites, where ancient Eastern traditions blend with Hellenistic architecture. A brief synthesis: was situated between the Red Sea and the Dead Sea and inhabited since prehistoric times. The rock-cut capital city of the Nabateans became during Hellenistic and Roman times a major caravan center for the incense of Arabia, the silks of China and the spices of India, a crossroads between Arabia, Egypt and Syrophoenicia. Petra is half-built, half-carved into the rock, and is surrounded by mountains riddled with passages and gorges. An ingenious water management system allowed extensive settlement of an essentially arid area during the Nabatean, Roman and Byzantine periods. It is one of the world's richest and largest archaeological sites set in a dominating red sandstone landscape. The outstanding universal value of Petra resides in the vast extent of elaborate tomb and temple architecture, religious high places, the remnant channels, tunnels and diversion dams that combined with a vast network of cisterns and reservoirs which controlled and conserved seasonal rains, and the extensive archaeological remains including of copper mining, temples, churches and other public buildings. The fusion of Hellenistic architectural facades with traditional Nabatean rock-cut temple tombs including the Caisne, the Urn tomb, the Palace tomb, the Corinthian tomb and the Dea monastery represents a unique artistic achievement and an outstanding architectural ensemble of the 1st centuries BC to add. The varied archaeological remains and architectural monuments from prehistoric times to the medieval periods bear exceptional testimony to the now lost civilizations which succeeded each other at the site. Criterion: I. The dramatic Nabatean, Hellenistic rock-cut temple tombs approached via a natural winding rocky cleft, the Sikh, which is the main entrance from the east to a once extensive trading city, represent a unique artistic achievement. They are masterpieces of a lost city that has fascinated visitors since the early 19th century. The entrance approach and the settlement itself were made possible by the creative genius of the extensive water distribution and storage system. Criterion: 3. The serried rows of numerous rock-cut tombs reflecting architectural influences from the Assyrians through to monumental Hellenistic, the sacrificial and other religious high places including on Jebels Madba, Mizra, Qabta, Habas and Al-Madras, the remains of the extensive water engineering system, city walls and freestanding temples, garden terraces, funerary stelae and inscriptions together with the outlying caravan staging posts on the approaches from the north, Barad or Little Petra, and south, Sabara, also containing tombs, temples, water cisterns and reservoirs are an outstanding testament to the now lost Nabatean civilization of the 4th century BC to the 1st century AD. Remains of the Neolithic settlement at Bia, the Iron Age settlement on Amal by Ara, the Chalcolithic mining sites at Amalamad, the remains of Greco-Roman civic planning including the colonnaded street, triple-arched entrance gate, theatre, nymphaeum and baths, Byzantine remains, including the triple apsis Basilica Church and the church created in the Urn tomb, the remnant Crusader fortresses of Habas and New Era, and the foundation of the mosque on Jebel Haran, traditionally the burial place of the prophet Aaron, all bear exceptional testimony to past civilizations in the Petra area. Criterion: 4. The architectural ensemble comprising the so-called royal tombs in Petra, including the Caisne, the Urn tomb, the Palace tomb and the Corinthian tomb, and the Dea monastery, demonstrate an outstanding fusion of Hellenistic architecture with Eastern tradition, marking a significant meeting of East and West at the turn of the first millennium of our era. The Amal Ahmad copper mines and underground galleries are an outstanding example of mining structures, dating from the 4th millennium BC. The remnants of the diversion dam, Mutlim tunnel, water channels, aqueducts, reservoirs and cisterns are an outstanding example of water engineering dating from the 1st centuries BC to add integrity. all the main freestanding and rock-cut monuments and extensive archaeological remains within the arid landscape of red sandstone cliffs and gorges lie within the boundaries of the property that coincide with the boundaries of the Petra National Park. The monuments are subject to ongoing erosion due to wind and rain, exacerbated in the past by wind-blown sand due to grazing animals reducing ground cover. The resettlement more than 20 years ago of the Bedouin tribe and their livestock away from their former seasonal dwellings in the Petra Basin to a new village at Amsehan was aimed in part at arresting this process. They are also vulnerable to flash flooding along Wadi Musa through the Winding Gorge, if the Nabertian diversion system is not continually monitored, repaired and maintained. The property is under pressure from tourism, which has increased greatly since the time of inscription, particularly congestion points such as the Sikh, which is the main entrance to the city from the east. The property is also vulnerable to the infrastructure needs of local communities and tourists. A new sewage treatment plant has been provided within the property to the north, with the recycled water being used for an adjacent drip irrigation farming project. Further infrastructure development proposed inside the boundary includes electricity supply and substation, a community visitor center, an outdoor theater for community events, picnic areas, camping ground and a new restaurant near the Kasra Albin temple, all of which have the potential to impact on the integrity of the property. Authenticity. Were the attributes of temple, tomb monuments, and their location and setting clearly express the outstanding universal value. The natural decay of the sandstone architecture threatens the authenticity of the property in the long term. Stabilization of freestanding monuments, including the Kasra Albin temple and the vaulted structure supporting the Byzantine forecourt to the Urn Tomb Church, was carried out prior to inscription. Protection and management requirements. Under Jordanian national law, responsibility for protection of antiquities sites lies with the Department of Antiquities, a separate entity under the Ministry for Tourism and Antiquities. The property is a protected area within the Petra Archaeological Park managed by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. However, responsibility for the overall planning and implementation of infrastructure projects at the site rests largely with the Petra Regional Authority, PRA, originally the Petra Regional Planning Council, PRPC, but now expanded to cover the social and economic well-being of the communities in the locality. Increased staff numbers have enabled campaigns of inspection and control, and strategies have been developed to manage tourist access and local community involvement, including the location and design of community-managed shop, kiosks. Regulations and policies developed under the Petra Archaeological Park Operating Plan will cover infrastructure projects undertaken by the PRA, including electrification of the Petra Archaeological Park and works associated with water recycling farming projects, including tree planting. They will also cover visitor facilities such as park lighting, tourist trails and interpretive signage, restaurants and shops, community recreation areas and businesses, as well as public events and activities within the park. There is a long-term need for a framework for sustainable development and management practices aimed at protecting the property from damage resulting from the pressure of visitors, while enhancing revenues from tourism that will contribute to the economic and social viability of the region. AA